Now, for more on Mr. Trump's latest legal troubles and their implications, we're joined now by Steven Okun, Senior Advisor, McLarty Associates. Steven, it's great to have you with us. Now, the Justice Department, calling it the largest investigation in the country's history, describe to us the significance of this new batch of charges. How damaging would they be for Mr. Trump?
Well, the title of the case kind of says it all. United States of America versus Donald J. Trump. This is a situation, of course, we always use the word unprecedented and historic when we talk about the former president. This is a situation where a sitting president tried to use the authority of the government to overturn the will of the voters. And the question is, will there be consequences? So that is the heart of the case. And I mean, look, everything really rests on how this turns out, including whether or not Donald Trump will return to the office in which he illegally tried to stay.
What do you make of the timeline, though? I mean, those incidents that he's involved in took place more than 2 years ago. Why did it take officials so long?
I mean, well, part of it was that you really needed to make sure that you got this case right. And the former president, of course, stonewalled the whole way through. All of the witnesses would not testify, or most of them wouldn't testify voluntarily. And so you had to have subpoenas, and then there was litigation of whether the former chief of staff to the president would have to testify. Would the former vice president, Mike Pence, have to testify? So this was a long, drawn-out constitutional battle to get to where we are today. But in the end, the Justice Department, through the special counsel, was able to get the evidence to go to a grand jury, to come back with a 45-page indictment outlining all of the laws that Donald Trump broke to try to threaten American democracy, in which he almost succeeded.
Yeah, and something that we should take note of, the grand jury, Tanya Chutkan, she is assigned to this case. She's based in Washington, D.C., and she is reportedly a former Obama appointee. What more do we know about her, and how will her role affect the trial?
Well, I mean, again, look, this is what the former president is going to say. He's going to say the same thing now that he's always said. This is a witch hunt. It's prosecutorial misconduct. It's a way for the Democrats to keep me from becoming president again. Why did it take so long? All of these things. Look, this is the way that the U.S. judicial system works. You go, you have a prosecutor, you go to a grand jury, you put forth an indictment. It goes to a judge. Our judges are appointed either by a Democrat or Republican, but they're approved by the Senate. So like you have a Trump appointee looking at the documents case in Florida, you have an Obama appointee looking at this case. It should be irrelevant. But of course, the former president has already convinced his followers that he did nothing wrong. This isn't going to change what his followers believe. The question is, will it change enough of the Republican primary voters to not have him be their nominee? And if he is their nominee, will it keep enough people, like they did in 2020, from electing him to the presidency once again?
Yeah, and as you said, Trump's team, they've called the charges part of a witch hunt, but his recent federal indictment in the Southern District of Florida boosted his poll numbers, as what we saw. Now, to what extent will these latest charges have an impact on his re-election bid next year?
Well, look, you'd think in any normal situation that would harm his re-election bid. There's no reason to believe that. We all knew, right, as Americans, what happened on January 6th. We all heard what he said then. We all saw what happened in impeachment before the Congress. We saw what happened with the January 6th committee hearings in the Congress. And where is he today? He is one of the highest polling Republicans in history at this stage in a presidential primary. He's polling at 54%, which at this point would seem to indicate he will be the nominee. In a head-to-head with Joe Biden right now, polls that came out yesterday have him tied at 43. So the question is, with all the evidence that the Jack Smith and his attorneys have been able to get, with there being a public trial, will this hurt him enough in the general election? And will this then lead Republicans to say, look, we still agree with his policies, but he's so damaged we don't want him to be the nominee? I'd say probably not. But this is something that is going to be watched both in the U.S. and across the world, because the U.S. is on trial along with Donald Trump. Our democratic system is on trial along with Donald Trump.
So he is leading the polls. He is intensifying his fundraising efforts. He is also facing trial for the hush money payment allegations in New York, and that's taking place in March next year. So what happens next? What else could we expect from Trump?
Look, who knows, right? I mean, he's got a trial in New York. He'll have a trial in Washington. He could have a trial in Georgia. That indictment is likely to come. He'll have a trial in Florida. He has the defamation case in New York as well, for when a judge has found that he sexually assaulted Jean Carroll and then defamed her. And has fined him $5 million for that. You've got 5 legal actions going on. But there's nothing in our Constitution that says somebody who is indicted and under trial can't run for president. There's nothing in our Constitution that says somebody can't run for president from jail. And there's nothing in our Constitution that says somebody in jail can't be president. So you will expect Donald Trump to use the same playbook he has used all along: witch hunt, prosecutorial misconduct. It's the deep state. It's the Democrats. And Donald Trump, am all that stands between my followers and you from losing the country. So it's going to get even more heated rhetoric, if you can imagine that, in the United States.
All right, Steven, thank you so much for speaking with us. Steven Okun, the senior advisor from McLarty Associates.